Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MTGOTraders. My name is Taryn, and this is the Upkeep. The Upkeep is going to be, for now, a weekly news show that airs every Friday, catching everyone up on any news, announcements, tournament meta changes, and of course, tournament dates between now and the next week. Basically, consider this your news source for all things news if you're too busy to catch up on the day-to-day. We'll be hitting on everything we can, but also I want to make sure this is a conversation. I don't just want to parrot news from WoTc and not address your concerns as well. So in the comment below and on Twitter at SuperHinotama, just tweet at me stories that you think are important to the Magic multiverse, and I'll try to cover it on the show. But of course, to keep these shows rolling and this channel growing, hit that like, subscribe, and hit that bell right beside the button to know when the new videos go live on the channel and when we stream right here on YouTube. But without further ado, our top stories for the week. Daily MTG, you know, that place where people link from Twitter, is finally getting an update. It's got a new overall design aesthetic, which is spiffy, and more focused on providing content you can't get anywhere else. Things like Magic R&D, Magic Story, and of course the ramblings of a caged crazy man, Mark Rosewater. And I'm sure other announcements and new dealings as well. They've also included a nifty schedule for tournaments and all of that too, which is awesome. Makes keeping track of events now a breeze. I'm unsure if they had this feature beforehand since I never saw the dates before, but the new design really helps a dummy like me to see it. But first impressions are great, and I can't wait to parrot information from there week to week. But if you have any suggestions for them, they're totally down for it, and hope that you give them feedback. They would greatly appreciate that. Next up, we're talking about some policy changes and action that Wizard of the Coast is doing going forward. If you've been under a rock the past week, Christine Sprankle, a prominent and awesome member of the cosplay and Magic community, has decided to leave the scene due to harassment and abuse from other members of the community. This prompted a Twitter uproar that eventually made its way to the tippy top. They did make a post stating that they're aware of the situation, but on Tuesday they posted an article detailing what they'll be doing going forward to deal with the harassment, bullying, and abuse in the MTG community. I won't read the article verbatim, but they stated they're investigating reports as quickly as possible, reviewing and updating policies and reporting processes for codes of conduct violations, and are attempting to be more proactive in setting expectations for behavior in the multiverse. They then provide several ways of how they can be contacted for situations like this, as well as offer the suggestion that if you feel unsafe at any time, to make sure to report that to the local enforcement agency. We're no fan of harassment, bullying, and any type of abuse on MTGOTraders, and firmly stand behind WoTc's addressing of this situation, and look forward to a safer, more accepting community in the future. I know that we've built an awesome community here on this channel, and I hope that positivity radiates outwards into others. I love you guys. And our final story of the day is the Magic World Cup is live right now. As you're watching this, players from 73 countries have gathered together in Nice, France. Nice? For the ultimate team competition. If you're not into watching Magic live, I hear ya, but the World Cup is truly something to behold. The event will run from today through December 3rd, and it'll be some of the best Magic you'll ever see on stream. It's standard, by the way. Truly, it's high stakes and even higher lines of play. I can't recommend it enough. You can catch that on Magic's Twitch stream, and of course, links for this story and other news stories will be in the description below. Now, moving on from our top stories of the week, let's hit on the Magic metagame, specifically Standard, as that is the primary format of most tournaments these days. May go into Modern in the future, but for now we're just talking Standard. The top 10 decks in the meta are as follows, counting down from 10. Mardu Vehicles at 10. Although it should be called 4-color vehicles since Scarab God is making its way even into this deck. Esper Approach is at number 9. Esper Approach is the newest iteration of Approach decks. I would say that Jeskai Approach is more my speed, but sure, that's fine. Next up, White Blue Godfrey's Gift at number 8, and I honestly thought this was higher up on the list since the amount of times I see it on play in MTGO. Obviously, Godfrey's Gift is a force to be reckoned with, but a very flimsy game plan if your opponent has removal quickly. Mono Black Aggro is coming in at number 7, and wow, I had no idea Mono Black Aggro was so high on the list. Remember months ago when I talked about how popular Bone Picker would be? Bam. Top of the format deck right here, baby. Coming in at number 6 is Azurius Control or Azurius Approach. However you want to call it, counter everything, clear the board frequently, and cast Approach. A fair but annoying strategy. I'm counting down the days until Approach is out of the meta. 4-color / the other Sultai energy deck is slowly gaining traction now at number 5. You'll see a pattern with the rest of the decks -1 after this, all energy related. But the true Sultai energy deck is hitting the number 4 slot, which is basically the same deck minus red. Sultai Pummeler is at the number 3 slot, and this is a real surprise as Pummeler has been a budget deck for months now. Happy to see it shaking up the meta, but still energy based. Finally, Roundup Red is breaking that line of energy at the number 2 slot here. The heir to the throne is won by fast plays and even faster removal. And of course, you know it, the top slot in Standard at the moment with 31.25% of the meta is Teamer Energy, aka 4-color energy, because Scarab God is too good. Also, it appears that Vraska Relic Seeker is now joining the fray into this deck too, and that's really cool. And that is the top 10 standard decks of the Ixalan Standard. If you're wondering where the Ixalan cards are in those decks, you'll find maybe 4 or 5. Hotch's Taker, Ixalan's Binding, Azcanta, Vraska's Contempt, and Relic Seeker, and still the record seems to be a handful of cards that are worthy enough to include in energy builds. I think that we can all agree that Rivals needs to be better than Ixalan to shake up energy's grip on the meta, but that includes top decks in the meta. Now let's talk about the MTG community. The MTG community is constantly talking about local games and stores, and support for growing those local stores and all that stuff, but I never actually see it in videos. Locations of said stores and how awesome they are. Well, here you can fulfill that promise. This section is for those of you who have an awesome local game store and think they need a shout out. Since this is episode 1 of the Upkeep, I'll start by saying Cape Fear Games in Wilmington, North Carolina is one of the nicest and classiest stores I've had the pleasure of working with. While I'm technically in Tennessee and I've never actually visited, I will say that it seems like every FNM is a blast there and the community is happy, healthy, and always up for a challenge. But of course, that's our pick for today. We want to hear what your LGS is like. Send us some photos in this section, names, and a quick description to superhinotama@gmail.com, and I'll be sure to pick one store every week for this feature on this section. Let's keep local game stores alive and healthy. And let's make sure people in those areas are even aware of them. I know I've lived in towns for years sometimes, only to figure out we had an LGS before I moved away. Spreading the word of great stores is just part of growing a fantastic community. Alright, the video's almost over, but I did want to go over some tournaments that are happening between now and the next week. December 8th, we've got Grand Prix Madrid, which is Team Unified Modern. That same day, we have Grand Prix Oklahoma City for Modern. Then on December 9th through the 10th is Draft Weekend for Unstable. LGS stores that carry Unstable should have promos to give away, and of course, we'll be hosting drafts. I'm sure there'll be a lot of judge fun at the moment. But those are all the tournaments I'm aware of until December 15th. Let me know if there's anything I'm missing, like a Star City Games thing. I'm sure I'll include those in the next video. I want to make sure this is the #1 source for all of that info week to week. But that is all I've got for the video today, folks. I hope you had a blast with the overload of information I sent your way, and I hope to see you next week. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment on what you thought of any of the news stories I talked about today. And I would like to ask you a question. What do you think about WoTc's Twitch coverage? Do you enjoy it? I know watching tournaments for me is like a weekend pastime. It's a great way to get hyped for a format and also see the best players in the world play decks you might want to build. As always, these videos are brought to you by the support of MTGOTraders, your largest supplier of Magic the Gathering online singles, and Cape Fear Games, where you can order paper singles and even trade paper singles for MTGOTraders credit, 20% more than the cash value. As my friend Pleasant Kenobi would say, #WildU. Thanks again, love you guys, I'll see you next week.
Super Mario 64, that game is good down to the core. That game is sweet, playing it is not a big chore. You jump all around like a fool, Super Mario is super cool. So play it all day, play it today, go to school.